Good morning. My name is Sarah Fosselt. I serve as the Board Administrator for the Texas State Board of Social Worker Examiners. Thank you for joining the board's meeting this morning. And with that, I'll turn it over to Chair Bromley.
Good morning, everybody. So we'll call the meeting to order. It is March the 5th at 8:35 a.m. As we begin to start the meeting in call to order, let's go ahead and announce who all is present. So I am Brian Bromley, Chair and professional member. So Ben?
Ben Morris, public member.
Martha Mosier, professional member.
Audrey Ramsbacher, professional member.
Megan Graham, public member.
Miss Rogers or Miss?
Asia Rogers, public member.
Okay. Miss Davia? You must be muted. We can't hear you.
Not showing muted, but
Yeah, it's not showing muted, but we don't hear you at all. I see you talking, but. While she's fixing that, Mr. Hurt, are you the attorney today?
Yes, sir, I am.
All right.
Out of the office today, so I'll be standing in for him.
Okay. And Mr. Spear, I see you're present.
Correct.
And Brenda Skiff.
Hello.
Ms. Skiff is the executive assistant to Daryl Spinks.
Oh, okay. That's good. All
I
right.
wanted to test my mic.
You are good.
It works.
We hear you.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Very good.
I love technology.
Yeah, don't. All right. So with having everyone present and a quorum has been qualified, we will move into the minutes. So agenda item number 2 is the approval of the minutes from the January 5th, 2021 video conference board meeting. So those were sent out in your packet. If you've had opportunity to review those, I would entertain a motion to accept and approve those.
I'll make the motion to approve those minutes.
All right, Ms. Mosier makes a motion
I'll second.
and Ms. Graham seconds. So all those in favor of approval signify by saying aye or raising your hand.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. So those minutes are accepted. So number 3, now Sarah, you had discussed this. So we are, the item is discussion of possible action concerning preparation of maintenance of meeting minutes, recording of each open meeting per the government code. So is that for just letting the public know that this is being recorded?
That's an agenda item that Director Spinks wanted me to include. He'd like to propose that rather than written minutes, that we simply record and post the recordings. He has more information about a YouTube channel and how the recordings can be indexed so they're easier to page through or to listen to.
Okay.
And since he's driving right now, I was hoping we could delay this agenda item until later in the meeting.
Okay, so we will just move agenda item down until Mr. Spinks is able to join us.
Thank you.
Okay, so number 4 is to elect a vice chair. And I know it seems like we just did this, but based on the code that we go by, we need to do it yearly. So I think we did it in the December meeting, and we did elect Martha Mosier as the vice chair. So I would open the floor for nominations for Vice Chair of the Texas State Board of Social Work Examiners?
I'd like to nominate Martha Mosier as Vice Chair.
I'd like to second that.
All right, so we have a motion and a second to continue Ms. Mosier as Vice Chair. All those in favor of that signify by saying aye or raising your hand.
Aye.
So motion passes. So Ms. Mosier, welcome back in that position. Okay. Oh, I was hearing a robot noise.
Mr. Brumley,
Yes, there you are, Mr. Spinks.
this is Daryl. I was just going to ask, is y'all's your election requirement for the vice chair, is that in a policy or a rule, the 1 year requirement?
It indicated that it is in the administrative code.
Okay, yeah, there's nothing in the, I tell you, there's nothing in this. Well, Sarah, do y'all have a statute that's unique to social work about election of a vice chair
It's
on
not,
an annual basis?
it's not in statute that I know of. It's in the rule 781.207.
And does it set it at an annual?
At the first meeting following the last day of January of each year, the board shall elect a vice chair.
Okay, well, that answers my question there. I was gonna say if you're just doing it by policy or tradition, you can change the interval by which you elect. Of course, you could change the rule too, if that's what you want. But if y'all feel like, you know, on an annual basis it's too often.
I don't, it's not that cumbersome. I guess we can just leave it as is and save paper. So.
And I would agree with that, Chair Brumley as well. I think doing it every year does give the opportunity for any life changes or anything that may happen to have that flexibility with it. Of course, you could do that, you know, even if we made the rule change, but I don't think that this is overly burdensome for us to do.
All right, but thank y'all for that input. So agenda item number 5, board review and possible action regarding appeals of application for licensure denials. So Sarah, do you have something for us there?
At this time, we don't have any cases for the board to review. It's a standing agenda item in case we do. So at this time, I have none to share.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Number 6, board review and possible action regarding agreed orders to be executed by the board.
At this time, I have no agreed orders for the board to review.
All righty. Agenda item number 7, board review and possible action regarding contested cases from the State Office of Administrative Hearings, otherwise known as SOA. So I guess Attorney Hurt, is that you or Sarah who's gonna?
I'll turn it over to Attorney Hurt.
Okay, good morning. Nothing at SOA just yet. I was going to bring this up at the next agenda item, but I'm focusing on closing out some of the older cases, the cases that are older than 2015. So SOA has not happened just yet.
Okay. Is SOA in action, or is it because of COVID? Have they not been meeting, or is it just as normal?
They're doing telephonic and I guess Zoom hearings at this time.
Okay. All right. Thank you. So, Attorney Hurt, does that mean that the next item that you are also going to present on, or did you take care of it in that one? Case is dismissed by the council's executive director.
I believe there were 2 cases dismissed in the meeting materials. Again, I'm focusing on the 2015 and older cases.
You went mute.
Sorry about that. Like I just said, I'm focusing on the 2015 and older cases. Some of them are over a decade old. They all seem to have some sort of issue that was preventing them from getting settled or closed. So those are my focus right now, just because they are so ancient. that they're my priority.
All right. Sounds good. Anybody, does any of the board members, new members, anyone have any questions about the process that Mr. Hart's talking about? So those of you, just a brief understanding is once a complaint comes in and the respondent, over having their due process, never agrees with the findings that the board makes, they can continue their case up through SOA, which is a hearing process that allows a judicial finding. And that's the final step as far as I understand. I guess there's probably some more legal aspect that could be input, but for us, SOA is the final. So as these cases go through, we don't have a lot of them. It doesn't seem like, I'm sure for the attorneys, it seems like we have way too many, but that's a little understanding of how that works.
I can clear that up for you a little bit better.
Okay, good.
What SOA does is they find findings of fact and conclusions of law, and they prepare a proposal for decision, basically a recommendation of what the board should do, but the final decision on what should happen for the case is up to the board. There are other appeal processes. If the licensee does not agree with the board's decision, they can appeal it to the district court and, up through the regular legal process. But the final decision, it does rest with the board.
Okay. All right. Thank you. So that was agenda item number 9. So we'll move to number 10, status report of quarterly enforcement case activities.
Oh, okay. So I had sent an email last night with a report, but I have to report to the board that my status report was a little premature. I didn't understand that our data, it may not have all been collected. So we had set a policy that I didn't understand, that staff has until the 10th after the end of a quarter to get all that data entered. So I may not have captured in the email that I sent to you last evening, the actual true data. So I'll have to redo that and send that to you at a later date.
Okay. All right. Anybody have any questions about that? Okay. Hearing none, we will move on to agenda item number 11, report of compliance with agreed orders.
And since the quarter ended on February 28th, just a few days ago, and again, I didn't understand that March 10th rule, or that 10th of the month rule policy. I'll be sending that to you at a later date as soon as we have that available.
Okay. And for folks that are new, I'll make a stab at this. An agreed order is once the board has found resolution between a complaint and the respondent, and the board sends, it's kind of like a letter that goes in their permanent record. It's an agreed order. And that is at the point that comes out, that's when a respondent has the opportunity to sign that and send it back to the board for final resolution. So we will now move to report from committee chairs. And number A, or the first one, is report from ethics. And the ethics committee has not met, so there is nothing to report. So we will move to B, which is report from licensing standards. Qualifications committee chair, Ms. Mosier. Anything there?
The licensing standards and qualifications committee has not met either, and there is nothing to report at this point.
Okay. So C, professional development committee. And I'm the chair of that as well. And we have, and I hope I'm not confusing these two things. The committee has not met, So there is nothing officially to report on. We are finalizing the remaining AMEC cases that are out there, or AMEC respondents, clients, people. So Sarah, you had told me, because I had asked, there are a handful of remaining folks. Is that right? There's
when I came on board, there was about 11. I think in the last quarter, about 4 have been released from probation and issued their non-probationary license. So you have about 7 left.
Okay. So, and the way we're handling that is, previously we had a reader who read those to approve those. The remaining ones, if there's questions about them, Sarah is sending those out to the committee for the committee to review and reply back to her on the findings. So
to clarify, the board still employs a professional reviewer, and I get a recommendation from that reviewer, which I then forward to the professional development committee members along with the entire file. And then the committee makes a determination. Since we're not waiting to convene a formal meeting, that AMEC candidate gets a response a little bit quicker than they would previously if they had to wait for our quarterly meeting.
Right. And this process is helping close this piece of the history that we've been working on in the past. Once these 7 more folks are finalized, there will be no more AMEC in the state of Texas. So
that's correct.
Yes. So, all right. And then finally, the Rules Committee, agenda item 12, number D, that's again back to Ms. Mosier.
The Rules Committee has not met, and so there is no activity to report at this time.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Agenda 13, which is discussion and possible action regarding jurisprudence exam. That was included in our packet, all the findings from the last period. And I'll let Sarah, if she wants to give any information about that. It looked like it's pretty much the same as it ever was.
It looked pretty routine to me. The usual comments of it, I don't like have to wait that amount of time, or it was perfect, or it was a good review.
Yes.
So it looked like a normal report to me. It is unfortunately still aligned with the old rules. So we're still working on getting that updated with the most recent set of rules.
Okay. All right.
Do we have any timeline for when that may occur?
I'm working on that now, and I have as soon as I have that uploaded with the vendor, I will send out a special code that the board members can use to take the test like a user would. And I was hoping that could be your review process then, rather than having you read a bunch of, it's difficult to read in the spreadsheet. It's much better, I think, to have the user's experience as your final review.
Yeah,
so
I agree with that.
I hope in the next few weeks to get that to you.
Thank you, Sarah.
Okay. All right. So hearing that, we'll know within the next, before the next board meeting, we should have that in place and be able to all review it and move forward with the changes then. So
yes.
Now the changes will not include a reduction in the time. We get a lot of people complaining about, 26 seconds or something. That's the bane of their existence because they have to wait that long, but that's the reality of the requirement. So it will remain. So agenda item number 14, report from board chair concerning current challenges, accomplishments, lawsuits, interaction with stakeholders, state official staff committee appointments and functions, workload of the board members, conferences, general information regarding the routine functioning of the board. Okay. So not really a lot to report. I can address the part on here about stakeholders. I've not had any real negative contact since I've been the chair. The majority of it has been folks reaching out to find out about licensing issues. We all seem to be probably pretty easy to find with the internet, and they can find our email addresses, and they don't have a problem reaching out. My world is a little bit unique, I've discovered, because I'd sort of added it up over the 20 years that I've been in higher education. I've probably had 2,000 students come through here, and they all will reach out in a minute if they've got an issue. So yeah, they don't waste any time. So that is something, and I'm able to deal with the majority of them. If it's something that I question or cannot understand, Mr. Spear and Administrator Sarah have been real helpful in helping work some of those out. We do have one that we're working on now, dealing with a military spouse that was a little different than one I'd ever seen before, but I think we'll come to a resolution on that one pretty quickly, and hopefully a positive one. Customer service, I will allow, I don't know if it's Mr. Spear or Mr. Spinks going to talk about anything concerning backlog, or, you know, the pandemic issues, or the flooding and the snow and the ice and the rain and all the trauma that we've dealt with just in this little short time of 2021. We'll get an update on that from them. So other than that, the functioning of the board, as far as I can tell, we've all done a good job in maintaining the things that we are asked to do, and good work on that. So I would ask at this time, though, if Mr. Spear, if you're out there, is there any update on the licensing issues that have plagued us in the past?
We are, I think we are doing pretty well with the new applications. One of the initiatives that Director Spinks has taken is to partner with ASWB so that there is improved access to the licensing exam. So rather than going through our staff to get a pre-approval to take the exam, the applicants go directly to ASWB to get the exam taken. So that has assisted greatly. What we are doing at this point is we are, I guess the term would be, chewing through the applications that are that are still active, that were received when the board was with HHSC. That is ongoing. The numbers that I have are since September 1st, the BHEC staff have processed, and by processed, I mean either made exam eligible or issued a license to over 1,400 applicants who had applied during the HHSC tenure over this last year and a half. So the backlog is not gone by any means, but staff is actively hacking away at it.
Okay, thank you for that. I know Executive Director Spinks did send out a link to us that showed that, you know, we're not alone. There are issues like this in other states as well. One of the things that I did want to talk about here at this point is I've gotten lots of, I say lots, several emails and folks reaching out that were having difficulty understanding the process for newly licensed folks. And so I went on and tried to, you know, just to see what they were talking about, from a blank mindset, to see if I could go through the process and the steps that as I understand them. And if there was a way that maybe on the BHEC website that there could be a sort of maybe a checklist or just a do this first kind of worksheet. The confusion seems to be that they need to make application with us prior to contacting ASWB for licensure. And I was not able to clearly delineate that between the two websites that needed to happen. So is that, yeah. And I would encourage any of you there on the board, if, you know, go to the website and look at the processes, because if people want to reach out to you, you need to understand what they're really asking us. So, Mr. Spear, is there anything like that that could happen, or do you know?
Yeah, I am actually working on that right now. I anticipate that we will have an update to the website by the end of this month at the latest.
Okay.
So we are going to update the website with much clearer instruction. Part of the problem that we have on that website right now is that the steps that they need to take are kind of buried in the ASWB page, which is down with the link for it is down at the bottom right hand portion. But the applying for a license page doesn't reference that. And so that's where the confusion is, I believe. So we will be updating the applying for a license so that it specifically explains how the process works now.
Okay, that will be extremely helpful, and thank y'all for doing that. That's very meaningful. So that's all I have as far as the my report. And Sarah, do you have anything as far as the administrator to report?
I do. I noted for the that the board has proposed rules. They were published on February 19th. The end of public comment will be March 21st. So they could not be brought to you for this meeting. Your next meeting is June 4th. And if we did nothing, then the next BHEC meeting would be would be August 24th. So as you know, the rules, the board, after the public comment period ends, the board reviews them and makes a recommendation to the council, and then the council reviews the board's recommendation. And if the council approves it, then it goes to publishing of adopted rules. However, there's also a state law that a proposed rule, if no action is taken within 6 months, is automatically withdrawn. And 6 months from February 19th is about August 19th, and the council's not meeting till August 24th. So I'd like to propose to the board today that we consider some dates for a quick, maybe a joint meeting with the Behavioral Health Executive Council to review this public comment and to make recommendation to the council. I have some possible dates if you'd like to jot those down and get back to me, or I can send it out in an email at another time.
I guess if you want to just send us an email with those dates, Sarah, that'd give everybody an opportunity to kind of measure against their calendars to see where we all are.
Okay, I will do that.
Okay.
Also, along the lines of calendars and scheduling, I noted, as I was working on this meeting, noted that the end of the quarter is February 28th, and our meeting was so close that I wasn't going to be able to have all of the quarterly reports to you for this meeting. As I go through the rest of the year, the next quarter ends on May 31st, and a few days later is your June 4th meeting. So you'd be in the same situation of reviewing a quarterly report 2 or 3 months after that end of the quarter. And if that's okay with you, then we'll keep it the way it is. Or if the board would like to consider changing its dates for the board meetings, then we might be able then to better sync up at least the quarterly reports with the board meetings, so you're getting that quarterly report in a more timely manner. Of course, I can always email you the reports as soon as they're available. It just may be a number of months before the board's able to come together and actually discuss them.
Well, to keep things as fresh as possible, you talked about a date about the 10th of each month. Is that an in-house time frame that things must be reported by?
Yes, that's an in-house policy. So staff knows that they have until the 10th to catch up on any reporting or data entry for that previous quarter.
Okay. So if we looked at having a meeting after, well, I mean, you're not going to get it done the next day. So the 11th is not going to be feasible.
That would be tough.
Yeah. So what time frame would you need to prepare all of this after, if we looked at something after the 10th of the months?
I'm not the only one that's working on it, so I'll need to coordinate that with some of the other managers. I'm thinking roughly about 2 weeks.
Okay.
So I would propose, if you'd like to consider moving the social work board dates, I would propose that you allow me to confer with some of the other managers, and I'll email you a proposal and let the board members look at their calendars and see what works.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions or input about what's being talked about as far as moving dates?
No, I think it's a good idea to move the date because it's just too far, you know.
Yeah, 3 months is quite a while to wait to approve something from 3 months ago. A lot can happen. So
And then just as a caveat, one of the reasons historically these dates were set on the weekends that they are is that with in-person meetings and people traveling to Austin for those in-person meetings, Austin has a lot of extracurricular events. So for example, if you move the date much past the first week in March, South by Southwest occurs, and if you got a hotel room, it was much more than the state wanted to pay for it. So it's fine to move the dates around while we're doing Zoom meetings. We might have a little more difficulty moving a date when or if we go back to in-person meetings.
Okay. Well, and we can try to remain as flexible as possible and moving those things back and forth. I think it's a better service to the public that we try to address things as close to the months that they happen in as we can. So if you would like to prepare something for us to talk about the June meeting, you know, which would, if it was 2 weeks out after the 10th, that puts it at, you know, sort of the last of June. I know that gets into the July 4th weekend. I have a whole different world that I have to deal with around July 4th. I'm in the fireworks business as well, and that's our busy time. So if we moved it into there from the 24th to the 4th, I can sure make time during the day for a Zoom meeting. So that shouldn't be a problem at all.
Okay, I will make a proposal and send that to the board members by email for their review.
Okay. All right. Anything else?
We've kept the board, I think Director Spinks has kept the board pretty well informed. Our offices were damaged in the recent winter storms quite severely. He and other managers have moved some staff to 100% remote working and then reallocated those office spaces to some of the licensing staff members so that they have a space to work since they've got to print out certificates and mail and things like that. We are still under COVID, so staff is still working remotely so we can social distance. So for example, that one office might be shared by 2 workers, but they're coming in on different days. The governor, as you know, announced that the ban on masks will be lifted as of next Wednesday, March 10th, and that businesses are to be open. And I believe that Director Spinks explained to you that we would have limited access to our building because of the storm damage. So we are working on plans for that. And I believe if we don't have an update yet on our website, we will probably be doing so shortly. Were there any questions from the board members about our operations in relation to the storm or anything else that I can provide to you? While Mr. Spear was talking, I flashed up where we were on licensing, and it appears that staff is in the end of February or in the middle or the end of February on the initial reviews. So that looks pretty good. It appears that they've caught up a bit from having to be out of the office during the ice storms.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for that.
Chair Brumley, this is Daryl.
Yes, sir.
The one thing I'd like to add, and I want everybody to know, at one point we were using overtime. Staff were working overtime to help us get caught up and handle the backlog. We ran out of money there for a while, so I had to shut that down. But we have now, because of vacant positions, basically, we're cannibalizing the salaries for those vacant positions. We're now having staff work overtime again. So I just wanted everybody to know that we're kind of putting a full court press on it to help tackle this backlog. So that's definitely helping. I'll just say that. But I wanted y'all to know that we are, bringing everything we've got to bear on it. We're working on, we're actually wanting to go ahead and deploy the online license applications for social work, but we're under a programming freeze right now that's keeping us from doing that. We deployed online modules for, the LPC's already had it, I think, in MFTs, but they're strictly online now, LPC and MFT, no more paper apps submitted by mail. I'm wanting to get y'all there as quickly as I can, but I got to wait till this programming freeze ends. And as part of that, we're also going to work on the supervisor module like the LPCs have, so that y'all will have that same mechanism for reporting hours. Tim will have to speak more about the details of that. I'm ignorant really of the details on it, but anyway, I just wanted y'all to know we are working on that. I know those are things we've talked about in the past. I didn't want y'all to think we dropped the ball and forgotten about it.
Director Spanks, briefly, what do you mean a programming freeze? Is that something specific to BHEC or is that a state thing?
Well, we have a shared regulatory database, and the owner of the database is needing to make some updates to it.
Okay.
And when they do that, that means we can't make any changes within our little particular area of the database till they get the big stuff updated.
Okay, so this is not a funding or a financial thing.
No. It's just like when you update your computer is basically what we're doing.
Okay, all right, that makes good sense. So
yeah.
Now, are you at a place where you want to talk about agenda item number 3, which we moved down?
I can go ahead and talk about it. You don't need to see my ugly mug to talk about this.
Okay.
What I'm trying to do here is, one of the things I'm doing is I'm looking at all the programs and seeing where is it can we save time so that staff aren't doing, just little things that really don't equate to moving the ball forward more. And I know it probably doesn't seem like from y'all's perspective, how hard is it, Daryl, to prepare this 1 or 2 pages a minute. The problem is y'all only see the finished product. Y'all aren't seeing the copious notes that Sarah has to take and then transform into draft minutes and then send to, me or Tim for editing and go back and forth. My point being is, it may only be a couple of hours out of Sarah's day in the interim between meetings, but that's a couple of hours that she could be doing something, working on more high priority issues rather than the minutes. And the law allows us to use just recordings of the meetings in lieu of written minutes. And so what I've been doing is going to the council and all the boards and asking them, hey, would y'all consider transitioning from the use of written minutes as the official, record keeping of the board meetings to audio or video recordings, because the law allows that. Now, I'll just tell y'all, the council has just kind of tabled it. They're wanting to see kind of what our capabilities are for uploading stuff to YouTube and setting timestamp markers so that people can jump directly to certain portions of the meeting. The MFT board has just, they've decided not to do. They want to just stick with a very shortened version of the written minutes. They weren't interested in switching over to any kind of recording. The psych board has switched over to recordings only. They are no longer doing written meeting minutes. And we'll see what the council does in May, because they're going to revisit the issue. But I don't think, Tim, Sarah, have we broached the subject with the LPC board yet? I honestly can't remember.
I don't think so.
Okay. So anyway, Chair Brumley, that's what I've had that subject on the agenda this morning for. I just wanted to visit with y'all, take your temperature, see what you thought about it. If it was something you were interested in, it's a way for staff to save time and focus their efforts on other things that are probably a better use of their time than drafting minutes.
Okay, so help me visualize this. When you talked about timestamps, would they be a timestamp that was broken out by agenda item, or would it just be, what would a timestamp represent in your view?
Yeah, yes, it'd be broken down by the topics on the agenda. So okay. I know, like Ms. Skiff, I know she's already uploaded all the videos we have are on YouTube now. We've created a YouTube. I haven't advertised it because I haven't really had a chance to look at it. I'm a graduate of YouTube University. Lord knows I've done enough, had to watch enough, but I don't know how to do the uploading and all of that. Brenda has done all that for us. She's uploaded all the videos. Kind of what I think the council had envisioned whenever they were instructing staff to play around with it is based on agenda topics. That way, if you didn't care anything about the public comments or the ED's update, you could just jump straight to the rules stuff if you wanted to see the board's discussion on that.
Okay.
So that's really what we're talking about.
Okay. Well, so we have this as agenda item number 3, which is discussion and possible action. So we're not having to take any action today, but I would like to hear from other board members about your feeling about this idea.
I'm open to that. I don't see any glaring issues of not moving in that direction. I think, in terms of technology, that is where everything is going as we've moved to more Zoom meetings. That will probably continue. And then as well, having that recording. So I had one other question in terms of what will be there. I assume you would click on a link and then you've got the agenda and you click into that. Is it the video as well, or it's just the audio of the meeting?
To use video, but we can
You're breaking up, Daryl.
Audio.
Daryl, you're breaking up.
Okay, I'm in the parking garage. I'll have to wait till I get in the office. I'm sorry.
Okay. Ms. Skiff, having uploaded those, do you know the answer to that, whether it's audio or video?
Well, on the YouTube account, it is all video. And I haven't tabbed anything or marked anything. It's just the full video. So what it is, it's broken down by, I went through and tried to look at different ways to do it. So it's by date, it has the date and it has the board. So it's all set up under the Texas Behavioral Health Executive Council. And then all the boards and the council fall under that channel.
So Brenda, I actually teach my yoga via YouTube, and I don't mind if you want a quick how to add a marker tab. It's very easy to actually pull the video and audio apart and just put a picture of the agenda if people don't want the video out there. It doesn't take any special software. It's not super labor intensive. So I don't mind if the board wants to do just audio, I can show you how to overimpose a picture and separate the audio if that's
okay. That's fine. I know on the YouTube channel, we just put the video out there for people to be able to, because I get a lot of requests for the Zoom meeting, the full meeting. So that's what I send, they can link on to that. But yes, if you'd like to, give me a call or we can Zoom each other and you can walk me through it, that would be great.
All right, thank you.
I appreciate Ms. Graham.
Yes, yeah, I just know some people don't want the video on YouTube. So if that's the hang up, but it makes your life easier if we can take the video off, then we're done.
Yeah. Well, I've already got all of them up there. So when I had my partial knee replacement, that was what I spent my time doing. So.
And as far as, and if Daryl's able to, or maybe Mr. Spear, when it talks about possible action, this is already in the code that we're allowed to do this, right? Somebody?
Correct.
Okay.
So that was the meeting, that was the piece of paper that in the meeting materials that talked about, it was a quote from the statute that allows you to either do minutes or recording
Right. So we would just be, as a board, should we adopt this, that's the only action we would need to take. It doesn't have to go for public comment or anything else. It's just a adoption of this process.
Correct.
Okay.
So, you know, right now we're doing these Zoom meetings, they're recorded. So that recording, I'm assuming, comes across pretty clear and crisp, easy to understand and hear the audio. What about if we go back to in-person meetings? What does that recording look like in terms of how good is the audio from that?
That's a good question.
Well, our plan is, Daryl, when we were going through and purchasing everything for BHEC, we purchased him a 360 camera for his computer. So the camera is really good. So we're hoping, you know, being in the new building and everything, that we will have, you know, good internet and everything else. So it should be just like it is now. Fingers crossed.
What's the time frame for the new building?
They are saying, I think, May of 2022. However, if you go online and look at the progress, they are making really good progress. You know, Austin hasn't had really any bad weather, you know, besides our snow vid we had, and the rain. So they've made a lot of progress. So it could be earlier, you know, it all depends.
So there may be a time when we might have to accommodate an in-person meeting before we get to the new building?
Well, the problem is, and Tim, you can jump in, with Tower 2 having the damage that it had, and then we've made our conference room into a, those people that are telecommute, all the investigators,
right.
We've made it into a print room, and also there's tons of supplies and everything in there right now. We wouldn't have really a place currently to have a meeting. And Tim, you want to jump in on that?
There's not really much more to say. We don't have the logistical ability right now to host an in-person meeting because of the pipe bursting. It burst in the 3rd floor, and our meeting space is on the 2nd floor, and gravity, doing what gravity does, made that room uninhabitable as well. So, you know, the possibility exists that we would have an in-person meeting here sometime far in the future, but the closer we get to having to move to the new building, the less likely that is.
And when y'all talk about the new building, I read, I think it was in an NASW finance or letter to the financial folks at the government, state government, asking about calling it the Bush building. Is that what y'all are talking about, the move to?
Yes, sir.
And where is that?
It is 1801 Congress Avenue. It is literally right across the street from the Bob Bullock Museum.
Okay.
If anybody's been there, you know, it was a big open parking space area. That's where the building is now. And what it'll have, it has underground parking. It has, I think, about 3 or 4 levels above ground, and then it connects to the I think it goes all the way down to 1601 Congress Avenue.
So this is not a refurb. This is a new construction.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, Mr. Spinks, Executive Spinks, I see you there. So
I'm here. My apologies, everyone.
No worry. While you were transitioning from your car to your office, we talked about the process. I don't know if you were able to hear or not, but no one seemed to have any objection to the recording process. And so if we want to put it on the agenda for the June meeting, we can sure do that. Not yet knowing the date of the June meeting, we'll figure that out with Sarah, and that can be an agenda item though.
And what we can do is, if y'all want to just kind of do like a test run of it, we can keep doing it the old way. And then I've been playing around with Zoom, and of course Zoom can generate a transcript, if you will, of this. So one of the things I know the council wanted to do was to use that transcript in addition to the audio or video recording. So we can do that.
Okay.
Play around with it, just show you what it is before we actually make the jump. That way you can decide what you like, what you don't like.
Okay.
Eventually, I want to get us to just one so that we're not having to do so many things and staff can better utilize their time.
Okay. All right. Well, that's agenda item number 17, unless we have discussion and possible action regarding future priorities and activities of the board. Sarah or Director Spinks, do one of y'all have any information for us there?
I have nothing to share with the board in regard to future priorities.
The only thing I will tell y'all is I'm working on a draft. I call it a safe harbor form supervision plan. You know, since we've made the changes to the supervision plan, I'm working on kind of a safe harbor form that we can put on the website so that supervisors and supervisees know, hey, if we use this form, we're okay as to the form of the plan itself. I want to run that by the stakeholders first and kind of get their input before I bring it up to y'all. That way I don't bring it to y'all, then have to take it to the stakeholders and bring it back. I'm trying to save a little bit of time there, but Sarah, Tim, and I have been working on that. So we're about ready to kick that over to Bill and his bunch and let them look at it.
Okay. All right. Hearing that, we will move to agenda item number 19, which is public comment. So
Would you, since Director Spinks is available, would you like him to speak about 16, the Attorney General's opinion and the responses?
oh, yes, absolutely. I'm sorry. I did mean to go back to that. So we'll not move yet to public comment. And we do have the attorney. We have made a request to the Attorney General's office for a finding. And I know NASW made a follow-up supporting document, and at least one other group made a follow-up document that was in our packet. So Director Spinks, if you want to speak to those.
That's really all I was going to say. Is I wanted to make sure y'all saw the NASW letter and then the Lambda letter. I'm just kind of keeping y'all in the loop, letting you know what's been filed. I haven't done an open records. When you submit a request for an AG opinion, of course, anybody can submit briefing to the Attorney General. The Attorney General doesn't send out to me, the requester, who all has submitted briefing. Will and Lambda, they've sent me theirs just as a professional courtesy. So I don't know who else has submitted. I can find that out if y'all want. I've never, usually I don't submit an open records request to get that kind of stuff. But if you want to know what all briefing has been submitted, I can get that for you.
Do you have any idea, Daryl, about a time frame as how long the Attorney General takes on something like this?
By statute, it's supposed to be 180 days is supposed to be the turnaround time. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, I've seen that violated many times because there's really no consequence if they don't make it in 180 days. Poor Johnson County submitted a AG request, 4 or 5 years ago, and it's still pending. I think they've just forgotten about it or something. I don't know. But I just, from a very practical standpoint, I think probably what will happen is the AG's waiting to see if the legislature takes any action in this regard. And the legislature may be waiting to see if what the AG says. I don't know. I mean, sometimes those parties don't talk to each other in their thinking. But it just me talking, just Daryl, I would not expect an AG opinion prior to 90 die, the last day of the legislature. I think probably the AG will wait, but that's just me talking. I haven't talked to anybody. I don't have any kind of insider knowledge as to why I think that. It's just my gut.
Okay. All right. Anybody have any questions about what's going on, what happened, why we're doing this? Everybody clear on that? Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you for that. So that completes us down through 18 and then back to 19 now, which is agenda item for public comment. So Sarah, I'll let you take charge of knowing who's out there.
So I'm going to do a little housekeeping first. For those who wish to provide public comment, if you've joined the meeting by computer, please use the raise hand feature to indicate that you would like to provide the public comment. After you've raised a hand, then I will unmute you and ask you to identify yourself and to provide your comment. There's a limit of 3 minutes. And please know that under the Open Meetings Act, public comment is part of an open meeting and is to allow the public to address a governmental body. It is not intended for a discussion or a question and answer session with the board. If a commenter brings up an issue that a board member believes should be addressed, the board member may request that that issue be added to a future agenda. The board member may make this request either during the meeting or after the meeting by sending me an email. An issue must first be scheduled to a future agenda item because a government body can only take action that are listed on the agenda. So with that in mind, I will look to our attendees. I see 2 hands are raised so far. The first one is labeled as Sandra Martin. Ms. Martin, do you have public comment?
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Very good. I am Sandra Martin. I am chair of the Governmental Liaison Committee for Christian Counselors of Texas. I want to commend your chair, Mr. Brumley, for in the early stages of the meeting kind of catching up some things on people that are new to the Social Workers Board. Christian Counselors of Texas has been heavy with LPCs and heavy with LMFTs, but since we formed a Governmental Liaison Committee, we're including also building up our confidence and understanding of you social workers and of the Psychology Board as well. So Mr. Brumley, you did a good job in catching up people that come new. And there are people probably every meeting who are new. The meetings move pretty fast. So thank you for that, for adding that to your comments in the beginning of the meeting. Thank you.
Okay.
And thank you for your service to us, by the way. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Martin. NASW Texas, do you have public comment?
Good morning. My name is Will Francis, and I am the Executive Director of NASW Texas. Would just like to, again, echo the previous commenters. Thanks for all your work, for the clarity of this board. This may be a record, too, for how quickly you got through the agendas. I wanted to just bring up a couple of things. One, I wanted to share in his excellent testimony the other day before the legislature, Executive Director Daryl Spinks talked a little bit about compacts and talked a little bit about what licensing looks like in regards to outside of Texas. NASW, along with some of the other major social work institutions, ASWB, the Association of Social Work Boards, I believe at least one other, have actually filed for a grant with the Department of Defense. It would be about $500,000. And it would be the exploration of an interstate compact that could be developed. The states would then have the option to sign into. It'd be very similar to SIPAC, which is something that is now part of by the last Sunday. I will be more than happy to keep you all updated on that. If you have any questions, my contact information is out there, but I'm happy to come to a meeting and talk a little bit about that. But that is something we are very interested in. We do a whole lot of work on telehealth. We have a whole lot of people asking us about what licensure looks like within and with outside of Texas. And so that's an area that we hope to move on. And again, we'd love to keep you updated because y'all's input on that and y'all's ability to both talk to the legislature and determine whether that seems like something good for Texas will be vital to that compact. The other 2 things I wanted to mention, one, on the recordings piece, very much support y'all taking the decisions you need to take to support Sarah Fassel's workload. I would just hope that if you do move the minutes over to a recording, that there's at least still maybe an abbreviated version of the minutes that people could review, so they would at least understand a little bit about what the subjects are. It could be a sentence, could be 2 sentences, something like that would be very, very helpful for them. And then finally, on continuing education, we're very supportive of the new rules about reducing the audit piece. We're still concerned. We have a whole lot of people who don't really understand that the board does not certify CE providers anymore. And so for a future meeting, I would love to put on the agenda something that is similar to the way psychology does it, where half of their CEs are required to come from either an association, a university, or another established entity within the profession, and then the others can come from a much broader. That's something I would love to see put on the agenda to align those rules with psychology. Thank you for the opportunity to speak this morning.
Thank you.
Sarah, before we move on to public comment, that reminded me of one other thing I wanted to visit with the board about, or just kind of give an update on. At the last council meeting, or at the future council meeting, I think what you're going to see is the council is going to form, and I call it ad hoc committee. It's kind of a one-time committee type deal, but the council is going to create an ad hoc committee made up of members from each of the boards and probably stakeholders from outside, where we're going to try to start identifying what areas can we look to standardize in across the board. And I know continuing education was brought up whenever we were discussing it at the council last time. So when Will said that, that reminded me of, I forgot to mention that to y'all during the meeting, but that's going to be something that probably the council is going to reach out to y'all, say, we need somebody from your board, can help us work on this committee, identify what can be standardized, and then actually help develop what those standardized criteria are, so that we can all kind of get on the same page on some issues. Anyway, that's all I had. I'm sorry.
And I'm sorry, that would be a council committee?
It's a council committee, yes, but it's going to take, we're going to need a volunteer or a couple of volunteers. I don't know how the council is going to set it up in terms of numbers, but we're going to need some volunteers in the boards to serve on it.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, candidly, just as I'm sitting here, what I kind of envision is a professional member from each board, and then bringing in stakeholders from the state associations to sit on this thing and identify which rules can be standardized, and then what the standardized criteria should be. Education, telehealth, those types of areas. From my perspective as an administrator, it would be better if all that stuff was standardized so that we didn't have different standards for the 4 boards.
Sure.
Across the way. But anyway, that's something the council will do at the May meeting. They're going to bat that idea around, but I think they'll probably do it.
Okay, thank you. I don't see any other hands raised, and I don't see anyone that appears to have joined the meeting just by telephone. So I believe that concludes public comment.
Right. Thank you to the public for taking time to join in and be a party to what we are trying to do. So that moves us to agenda item number 20, which moves us to an executive session. So
there's no need for executive session today.
Okay. Hearing that, we will move to 21, possible action regarding contemplated litigation or settlement offers. Attorney Hurt, anything out there?
No, sir.
All right. Thank you. And number 22, announcements, comments, board action statements regarding conferences and other upcoming events. I don't know of any live and in-person events. I believe if Mr. Francis, if you're still out there, you can qualify this statement that the NASW conference this year will be a virtual conference. Is he still out there, Sarah?
Mr. Francis, are you there?
He is. He's on mute.
Okay, there he is.
There he is.
Yes, thank you, Chair Brumley. Yes, our conference will be October 21st through the 23rd this year, and we will be going virtual. And we'll get you more information as it comes. Thank you for.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that, Mr. Francis. The ASWB conference I did see is scheduled to be live in New Orleans, I believe, in maybe October or November. So that is something that's upcoming that we will look into as we get closer. Other than that, does anyone else have any information about recent or upcoming events or conferences?
I do have an announcement. I note that Jennifer Swartz, a new government appointee to this board, is attending as an attendee since she has not yet been confirmed by the Senate. I just wanted to welcome her to the board and let you all know that she was listening in to get acclimated to the board's functions.
Okay. Well, thank you for joining us today, Jennifer, and we look forward to seeing you amongst the panel next time. So, all right. Well, that moves us to number 23, which is adjournment. And I would take, if no one else has any comment, I would ask for a motion to adjourn.
Chair Brumley, I have a request.
Yes, sir.
Please. And this is regarding our case activities. When we get the breakdown in the different categories of the case activities, and in view of the backlog, my concern is cases regarding complaints involving children. I would like to see a new category on that list, on that breakdown of complaints involving children. And we can discuss that at a later time or now or whatever's appropriate. But in our duty to look out for the most vulnerable in our society, which is our children, I would like to be able to monitor those numbers. All due respect.
So I'll ask Mr. Spear, Mr. Spinks, or Sarah to maybe, is that something that could procedurally happen for us, or is that not possible?
That may be more of a council thing, just because of how we track enforcement data is standardized across the board. And so that may be something we need to look at doing up at the council level. So I tell you what, Ben, I'll put that on the council agenda.
Absolutely.
To talk about, and let me see if we can tackle it. We'll see what we can do up there, because I got to see what we can do database wise first. I don't want to tell you, yeah, we can do it, and then my database folks tell me, you're not set up to track that. That's part of what I'm a little worried about, is how, if we get that kind of information into the database, to be able to segregate it from the other complaints.
Right.
I have to see what we can do there. And it may be, I'm just spitballing here, but it may be that may be something we can only do prospectively going forward, rather than having to go back and review all cases and recategorize them into that. But sure. I hear what you're saying. I'll get it on the agenda for the May council meeting. All right. I do appreciate that. You bet.
Ben, just to help out with that, would that be okay or adequate if it was only able to happen for future and we didn't have to go back and look at all the history?
Well, again, my concern is with the backlog, and my concern that our children don't get dropped between the cracks.
Okay. Okay. Understandable.
Ben, is it physical harm to children? Is that what you're really focusing on, or is it I don't know how to, is it more like maybe harm resulting, complaints arising out of just therapy involving children? Are we talking about some sort of abuse or exploitation of children by a licensed provider? Or or is it just, if a child is involved at all, we need to that needs to be receive a higher priority?
Yes.
Okay.
Basically all of the above. And the thing is, I appreciate so much the direction that our investigators have gone. I appreciate the direction that BHEC is taking in this, and that this is working in-house with our investigators and our attorneys. But I am very concerned about numbers involving complaints involving children. I think that needs to be a priority one.
Okay. I'll make sure it's on the agenda.
All right. Thank you so much.
All right.
I had a question.
Yes, ma'am.
I just wanted to know if we had an update on the approval for the committees that we chose, or were needed in a different committee.
Sarah, I'll go back to you on that. Mr. Avila is asking about committee assignments.
Yes. So my notes showed that, sorry, I got to get that in front of me. My notes show that Ms. Rogers requested to be included on the Ethics Committee and that Ms. Sáenz Davila requested to be included on the Rules Committee. Are those appointments or assignments that Chair Brumley you'd like to make at this time?
We can absolutely, if I get input from those that you named, if they are accepting of that, then we can make those appointments today.
Okay, I have made such note and I will send out information by email to confirm that with the board members.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, appreciate the question.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. So any remaining questions? Anything? Anybody? All right. Well, I will accept a motion for adjournment if I could get one.
I make a motion to adjourn.
All right. Thank you, Audrey. A second, please.
I'll second.
All right. Thank you, Martha. So all those in favor signify by saying aye and clicking end.
Hi.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank y'all.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.